How's it going, guys? It's Aaron here. Thank you so much for joining me in another video on the Computer Dynamo Tech channel. I wanted to bring you something that I have been talking about, or at least thinking about, for quite a while, and this is my 2019 desk setup. And behind me you can see there's been a few changes since the last time I filmed at this location. So let's get started. I'm going to flip the camera around and explain what kind of equipment I have and why I have it. Alright guys, thanks for joining me again. Here we have my desk setup. As you can see, we have the new LG monitor that I had showcased in one of my previous videos. I can leave the link down in the description below. We also have, I believe, the HS5 Yamaha studio monitors set up. I don't know if I had those set up previously when I had filmed at this location. I had taken them down a long time ago because I had to have that air conditioner replaced, not that particular one, that's the replacement one, but the other one was actually leaking water right behind my old iMac, and that would be a potential problem shorting out the computer, so I stopped using the air conditioner for a long time. But I also removed some of the equipment so it'd be easy to disassemble when I did have to have the air conditioner removed. But now that it's been changed, I actually put in a lot of time and effort in reconstructing this whole setup, as you can see, with a lot of equipment that is either new or hasn't been on the desk for a long time. So I've already gone over the monitor, the two speakers sitting on Oralex foam pads, sitting at an angle tilted towards me, angled as best as I can so I'm at the center, at the third point of the triangle. It's not perfect, but the constraints of this room are as such that I cannot get it any farther away or change the angle too much, so that's as best as I can get it. To the left you can see on my dresser I have a special hook that's used, I believe, at museums for holding headphones, and it has these quick release sticky pads on the back. I think they're 3M pads so that they don't leave marks and they don't mar up the dresser, and allows me to hang my headphones, which are the Audio-Technica M50, let's see, I'm saying this right, M50X. So they have the detachable cable, so I have the cable detached right now. And I'm going to get up a little closer so I can showcase these headphones. As you can see, the pads are a little different than what comes stock. So my pads had actually disintegrated from so much use. I bought these about 4 years ago, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. And I used them a lot, and the faux leather pads just got totally demolished. So I replaced those pads with like a nice foam and velour pad, and I've liked these so far. Just something cheap off Amazon. And also the headband started to disintegrate because it was also made out of a very similar material that started to flake off. So I bought this. Kind of inexpensive. You just wrap it around. It has like a soft touch material on it. A little bit of foam underneath is from the original headband, and you pretty much just zip it over the headband and it gets rid of that flaking problem. So let's put that back, and it's better than obviously buying a whole nother set of these headphones because they're not cheap, and this is just a nice way to keep them going. The audio quality is still excellent. So on to the centerpiece. I have my Western Digital desktop drive labeled for backups. That's what I use for my Time Machine backups. Below it you can see the Steinberg UR22 audio interface that I use primarily for output. You can see we have I believe it's a 1/4 inch jack for headphones, which I do use on an adapter for the MX50s, 50Xs, or you can use it on 50. And then I have my, all the different controls here. This is the power light that I was talking about, where some of the Thunderbolt docks would make the light flash, or at least one of them did, when the computer wasn't connected, and that would cause a lot of problems because it's very annoying. So at least when it's stably on, it's sort of like a night light. It's not a big deal. Here's where you can plug in microphones and other things, but this isn't a review of this audio interface, so we're not going to go too much into depth. Around the back we have connections that feed into special line that supply these powered HS5s. So that is what this is primarily for, and it converts the digital signal to an analog signal nicely for high quality audio. Now over here is the StarTech dock that I was talking about. I'm happy with how it turned out so far. It does take a little time to wake up the monitor when the computer is asleep. You have to tap the keyboard a number of times, and then you have to wait and tap it a couple more times, and then everything wakes up. But other than that, it's been quite good. That may just be because of the monitor in its low power mode requires some time to actually wake up once it gets a response. So I'm not going to put that on the StarTech dock. But the StarTech dock has proven quite nice. It doesn't really get hot. Sometimes it'll get warm if you're really using it hard, but not bad at all. You can see I have a lightning cable here connected at all times to the front port, nice and clean, cabled up, so I can plug in an iPhone, charge it, or quickly access data from the iPhone direct connected to a computer. And around the back you see the other connections as such. I'm not going to go through each of those individually, but you get the point. So we're going to do a little zoom out. Okay, so what I didn't go over here was the keyboard and the mouse. So let's take a look at that. So this keyboard is, I believe, the Apple Pro keyboard from probably around 2002. And the reason why I'm not using something newer is because the newer one that I have is still quite old. It's probably about 10 years old. It's nice and white though, so it's not yellowed, but it has the thin keys and it's missing the numpad. And I like the numpad and I like the thicker keys. The click is nice. So that's kind of a nice feeling and sensation. And now my display is finally lighting up. Let's cancel that out. And so we also have a special mouse here. And I also kind of like these. These are kind of nostalgic. If you look from the side, it has a nice curvature to it. It does have a couple of USB ports. I believe they're USB 1.1 possibly. They're not great for data transfer, but they're decent for connecting the little dongle for the mouse, which we're going to go over. And then I also sometimes charge this mouse directly off of this port, which seems to be sufficient. So it's nice. I have the cable routed around the bottom of this stack, through the back, and around to the dock. One thing to note, these are actually propped up on something, and actually what I did is I had some extra rubber coasters around the house. Not paper, not plastic, some nice rubber coasters, centered them up, stacked them on top of one another, and the height is actually just perfect to get these devices to sit just above the height of this stand, so that there's no crimping when you actually run a cable underneath and through and around, so it's kind of hidden, which is sweet. Okay, so back over here, just a simple black mouse pad, cheap, inexpensive mouse pad. You can see it's kind of marred up with white, from dust and dirt and whatnot. The mouse is in Performance MX, I believe. Yep. You can see, it's seen better days. It's kind of worn out. But it gets the job done. It has some nice features like the dark field, which means I can use it on glass. It doesn't have to be an opaque surface that I use it on. It can still track. It has 2 scroll modes, a regular scroll, and a ratcheting scroll, right? An infinite scroll and a ratcheting scroll, which is kind of nice to have those options. I usually use it on the infinite scroll. It has some other, key features. Let's see if I can light it up a little bit. Key features, back and forth, and a couple other things. It's kind of nice. It gets quite dirty. Unfortunately, I have to clean it, but it's very difficult to clean because of all the little rubber grooves. But I've liked the mouse while I've had it. Battery life isn't what it was, but you can replace the battery, unlike, I would say, on a lot of other mouse options. So that's why I chose it, and I've had it for a while, and I still like to use it when I'm using my computer in desktop mode. So what you see is all the connections through pretty much the dock, and you can see I have a pen and a notebook there because I like to sometimes jot down some notes by hand, not through the computer, so I leave that there. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more cluttered. You can see a couple cables in the background, but I try to keep it as neat as possible. So now let's take a small walk to the side of the cabinet, and you'll see where my computer lies. Here you can see, let's get this shot proper. I'm trying to hold it from the side, so it's a little hard to film. You can see that's my MacBook Pro. I bought that book arc that I've been thinking about in a space gray color, which is pretty sweet. It holds it beautifully. It's hidden out of the way, so it really just looks like a desktop without an actual tower. And then you can see, if I get up a little closer, oops, blocked out the camera with my finger, sorry about that. And you can see the StarTech cable that I purchased, the longer one, fed through the cabinet, through the shelving, which goes to the dock nicely around the back. So it's nice and hidden. And we will go back to the front so you get a nice little overview of this whole situation, whole setup, and I will go back to addressing you in person. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit rambling, but I wanted to show you some of the equipment that I have and sort of how it all comes together. I didn't really talk too much about the speakers, but I did talk about the audio dock. The speakers are phenomenal. The speakers, the studio monitors rather, allow me to get extreme clarity on my audio when I listen to high fidelity recordings, or if I make my own music, let's say in Logic Pro 10, it allows me to get a really clear, accurate sound, and allows me to hear instruments and fine detail without struggling. It's phenomenal. You know, you have to have the right recordings to actually showcase it, but it is truly phenomenal. But everything together has worked out quite nicely. I'm happy with the setup. I might change out the keyboard eventually for something that's a little bit more modern, but I do like the nostalgic feel. I've used it for a long time. I didn't own it since 2002. I got it used. I have another older keyboard that I can showcase in another video, which has more pearl white keys, but it doesn't work quite as nicely as these keys do. So until next time, if you enjoyed the video, smack the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button for more content, hit the bell if you want to be notified when that content comes out if you are subscribed. If you have any comments, leave them down in the comment section below. Any feedback from me is much appreciated so I can make better content in the future. Suggestions for videos are also appreciated, and that's pretty much it. So until next time, do what makes you happy, follow your passions, and I'll see you in the next one.